You know, there's always qualifiers and givens. The last part of my video sort of got cut off because I ran out of memory, and I talked about cyborging people. It's very painful for me to sort of realize that when I'm able to sort of know because of what I knew in my childhood, you know your identity, right? In other words, when you've already reached a state at which, you know, your core identity frequency, in other words, the energy that I use to experience who I am, vibrates off the charts, you know. It's just automatic. I don't even have to think about it. It's just there, right? And because of that, it means when you come out of the gate into a distorted energy field, as I did as a child, it means that your state of awareness is already way up. You're just aware of more things that is held within the light, right? So because of that, it's easy to not be held, I shouldn't say easy, it's easier. Because when you get into the level of technology that they use against everyone on the planet, but if their state of awareness is not running at a high speed, which means they're highly magnetic, their magnetic light amplifiers booming out, you know, living light, right? And your spirit, you know, recognizes the living spirit in the planet. So when you're wanting to be with her higher scalar energies, you're making a highly magnetic connection to her. That means that she will keep you and heal you and keep your energies high when you're with her all the time. She's my cleanup, okay? That's why I went to the Big Island. Let's get rid of all the goo. Because we're like sponges. When we go into lower density consciousness beings, we're picking up all the lower frequencies that we're picking up and holding on to those, right? And as a result of that, we got to burn them all off. So we know where to go to do that, okay? So you know your identity. You're native to the planet. You're native to the girl on the planet, okay? So it allows you to map the terrain, if you will, the terra. You know, what's going on here and how all this works, if you will. And so I always sort of have qualifiers and givens because there's always going to be some bit and byte of data that's not included in the message, or somebody still has a question because the amount of data that we collect that we're aware of is vast. So it's just like, hey, I'll probably forget something, okay? And that's true, okay? So we try and simplify things on the most basic, fundamental level that makes it easy for a child to learn, because everybody still has a child in them and remembers their childhood of how much energy they had, how much fun it was to be a child, okay? Because I still had, that's what I am, okay? In other words, my spirit. It's not the age of the avatar, okay? I'm not the matter body. I'm the light spirit body, okay? So the idea is to keep growing more light, okay? And you grow more light by becoming more of what that is. And you're attracting more of what that is, and as a result of that, you're growing your light spirit body, and you naturally just go faster. You're not even having to think about it. It's just you're bringing the light in wherever you are, okay? And then, obviously, over time, you become the size of the girl on the planet. You get a classroom of your own, right? Or go do whatever it is that you go do, wherever your journey happens to take you, right? That's what it is. It's a soul's journey. It's a soul's learning journey. See? It just goes on forever. So I wanted to make mention because she's had a pretty large following, and sometimes, and even on my Facebook page, I would put up a lot of links to beings that are not, if I would call, on the same team, but the information that this being is presenting to the public is relevant. It's the information contained within the message. So, for example, a woman by the name of Anna von Reitz, who lives up in Alaska, okay, who had a relationship with a former pope. And I don't know of anybody offhand that I can think of that probably did more legal research other than my father and people that I hooked up with back in the 60s and the 70s who had already pretty much uncovered all the bullshit with the Roman Empire and all the rest of how they put their system together to harvest energy, if you will. Because of everything that I've mentioned already about the tribes, the clans native to the planet, and the Roman Empire. Because as I remember it, as Pat explained to us, there were contracts that were set up, as I remember it, 20 or 22, I can't remember the exact number, of other races who come from other star systems, okay, that were going to be allowed to come in here, okay, in order to breed with essentially source-coded DNA, source-like coded DNA. For what purpose? That's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? When you realize that in lower creation you have star wars going on, which are electrical wars between star nations, how can we possibly eliminate that so we can bring more star systems that are in alignment with source, okay, to live in peace, love, harmony, and balance with each other and become autonomous, to enjoy thriving relationships in star nation communities, right? How would we do that? Well, I can tell you how I do it, but I know what she did, which would be the same thing I would have done, which means producing DNA that gives you a source-coded connection to the source in which all living light come. And when you have that kind of connection, it means that you can experience what love is, which is what light is, living energy. So when you have beings, for example, that come in here and breed with what I call goddess code DNA, because she's the birth giver of creation, the first sound vibration that a soul experiences when a soul comes in through the heart, okay, into the spiritual and biological mother of its mother, is experiencing the first sound vibration of what love is. It comes out of the vesica piscis, which is the birth canal, okay? You go look at the Vatican, and you'll see, for instance, in the churches, the archway. That's what that represents, the birth giver, the archway, the birth canal, okay? So in that regard, I realize that Anna von Reitz has had a large following because she's articulated and broken down through legal research how, for example, the United States of America was set up essentially as exactly what it says, 3 branches of government, a political system, legislative, executive, and judicial branch, right? And then you have the legislature that passes all of its rule-based functions on to everybody. And the tribes look at that because it's corpus juris secundum, which means it's second law. It's second law. It's not first law. Why would they be considered second law? Because they haven't finished their coursework. Okay? That's essentially what it means. When you become a first law nation, which is what love is, because you are what that is, you will naturally attract more of what you are. So what essentially the legislature means is that you still need an enormous amount of rules to live by in order to behave to that authority, okay, in which your energy is getting harvested, because it's exactly what it is, because it was the Romans who set it up. And the Roman Empire was defeated in 408 AD by us, the tribes, because they're parasites. They're energy harvesters without an off switch. Demons, if you will. Okay, Dracos, reptilian, and the Anunnaki, the slaveholder races. Okay, so what we realize, therefore, is that there are a lot of different races here who come from other star systems. Okay, Anna von Reitz is one of those. Okay, she's not native tribe or clan. Okay, so she realizes that there's so much light in here now. There are a lot of people that are waking up, and she realizes that. She realizes that the magnet that has been represented by people that have flocked to her because of her ability to articulate how everybody under the corporation, which is dead, a corporation is not living energy, okay? It's a parasite. So she knows that. So what happens is that she's able to draw a lot of people into her flock, so to speak, because she's speaking the truth, which means this is how a corporation worked. It was holding everybody captive to a corporation, and instead of them working for us, they were energy harvesters off of us. But what she never articulated was the difference in the relationship between the first law tribes and clans who were native to this planet and all the other star races that are here who are alien to this planet. Okay? She never did that. So even though I put a lot of her information up and her links to the information because she broke it down, it's good information to know if you want to see how the American people were bamboozled through the setup of the 3 branches of that government. Because on a much larger cosmic level, there's a higher rule in place, right? Which is love is the law. That allows you to be autonomous when you've learned how to be what that is in living life. You naturally will attract more of it. So you don't need somebody to tell you how to live your life. You're already living your life as a self-ruled being because you are what love is in living spirit. That means you're not going to do any harm to anybody wherever you go. Okay? That's coursework. Okay? Then you become a first law star nation. That's why White Bear is a star nation. Okay? Represents that star. Okay? If you look at the logo that I used to put up of White Bear, you'll notice Sirius on it, even though we have a connection to Arcturus, which is another star. Okay? So I wanted to mention this because her, in realizing that all the information, she's very aware that more people are becoming aware of the truth, how their consciousness was held captive to so many lies. So this is why I used to say all the time, who are you? Where do you come from? What star system do you come from? Okay? A lot of people just don't know. They never took the time to look at their bloodline or their genetics to even know who their first mother is. All you got to do is grab yourself a spiral bound and do a study for a few days and start walking around your community and start asking questions. Hey, where are you from? Do you know where you're from? What star system are you from? And you'll be surprised how many people will, when you ask them that question, they might say, from here, this sun. Oh, really? Did you notice that we just changed out the sun? We got a 6 Stargate, Email Merkaba now? What you begin to realize is how unaware so many people are of some of the basic fundamentals of how the universe works. Okay? And that's perfectly fine. That's their own coursework, right? Okay? You learn as you go. So this is where we measure the speed of your learning, because in this classroom, you're given X amount of time in which to spin in the rotation of the galaxy is saying, hey, based on the speed of your learning, hopefully you've learned over a period of time how light works to attract more of it, to go faster. And now that you're going faster and you're experiencing a state of love and joy, man, you begin to realize I got everything that I need. Yeah, that's the point. Okay? You don't need to acquire a lot of stuff that is translated as money because it's in material form in order not to suffer what is a loss of matter. Has nothing to do with spirit. The spirit leaves the body. When the physical body quits and the sine wave stops in your heart, spirit leaves the body. Where does it go? That depends on your spiritual growth. How much light were you attracting while you were here? That gets back to report cards and the pass or fail, which is love and service to others. How much light you got left? You come in here on a ledger because everything's recorded. So you have a record when you come in here. No different than when you go to a school. Any high school, elementary school, just like their schools. Okay? They have a different grading system, but here on this planet, it's pass or fail. You either learned how to be a light worker or learned how to be able to grow your light spirit body enough to be able to get through a Stargate. If you can't get through a Stargate, how are you going to be able to get and experience all the higher heavenly realms? In the higher dimensions, you won't. That's painful. That's a measurement that teachers have to look at themselves in the mirror, which is biofeedback, which means, when I'm a teacher, if I'm failing half my students, I got to look at me. Were they not getting enough resources? Were they not getting the proper tools in which they can learn how this works? And now we get back to information wars, which are energy wars, which are genetic wars, frequency wars, and electric wars. So all that has to be taken into consideration, see? But we got beings here from all over the place, see? So she identified who she was, okay? She made a reference to Yeashua, Jehovah's Witness, okay? That's another fake god. That's not source. Okay? It's one of the things that I always noticed about her, not that there isn't a God, there are not real gods, because real gods exist. An energy system inside of a living biosphere, the battery that we're experiencing when a being comes in there, who do you think is providing all that energy? Okay? It doesn't happen out of just thin air. Okay? That's a living being. That's a living spiritual being that is in this planet. A living organism that is self-aware. She's aware of who she is, and she's aware of everybody else that's here. It's in her energy. So those are the classrooms, gods and goddesses. Okay? So in this particular case, we have a goddess, Gaia. Okay? She runs the energy field. And we're breathing in her energy. So you want to experience more of what she is on a higher scalar way, then you got to get away from all their Wi-Fi, all their antenna systems they put up, which is dirty electricity. And go out and get away from all of their towers. Get out and be deep in nature into a wilderness area. And of course, as I mentioned before, you can check your phone or any device that you might have that's sort of a scanner. Scan the frequencies and see if you can scan where, hey man, there isn't anything here other than her experiencing higher frequency waves. And those energies feel good, right? Now you're at peace and harmony with your waves, with her waves. And that becomes an anchor point. You realize who you're with. Okay? You're able to resonate in the field because the waves are in harmony. Your waves are in harmony with her waves. Wow. I'm in harmony with a goddess? Yeah. And when you begin to realize who the teacher is in nature, then you begin to realize who the teacher is here. Okay? So the deeper you go into the spiritual world of everything that is spirit, of the great living spirit in nature, the more you're going to learn, and the more freedom that you have to learn through the more powerful spirits in the cosmos. Okay? So, for what it's worth, I thought I'd mention that because I know that in the past I've put up a lot of Anna von Reitz stuff, and some people have a tendency to think that because I put that up that I'm on her team. That's not how it works with me. I put information up because of the relevance of the information, not the messenger. It's the information. It might be one sentence, it might be one paragraph. In some cases, like with me, when I watch a video, and I know this because your intuition knows this. It might be, for instance, last night when I watched that video from Terrence McKenna, talking about psychedelics, right? So, for example, when you I used to take mescaline or peyote. That's naturally tribes eat peyote. The Navajos would eat a lot of peyote, and I've eaten peyote. That's a natural, living, analog, living energy that is in this planet. So when you're taking that, when you are what light is in living energy, you're experiencing the living energy, the consciousness of that plant. That's a completely different reality, or the reality that you're experiencing is now different from the one that you were experiencing before you took the plant. Now you begin to realize, wow, what's possible to experience. So you don't live in any fear of experiencing everything that is in nature, because all the different plants that are represented by all the different flora, okay, that are presenting itself to us is living energy. It's trinary. Okay? So that's why the importance of sort of understanding the different frequencies of what you experience. You know, if you're just used to one reality, this is the way and you adapt to one single reality, and you live in fear of the unknown to experience something you've never experienced before, how are you going to be able to perceive a cosmos that is so vast out there where you want to experience everything there is to experience? Everything there is to experience that is living energy, that is living consciousness. So imagine when you get into what's called infinite creative imagination, what the experience is like, which is infinite imagination, which is infinite consciousness, that is producing those experiences. See? That's what it means to live in no fear. Because you're experiencing the higher living energies that we are, in harmony and balance with what we can learn through the other living energies that are conscious just like we are. So we're experiencing all the different experiences through nature. We're a part of the natural world. Right? Anyway, I'm going to probably run out of memory here. Have a great day. I I'm waiting on my train. All aboard. Bye now.